Ever felt overwhelmed by the complexity of DAX formulas in Power BI? Or maybe you're just getting started and the thought of mastering DAX feels like a huge challenge. What if I told you there's a simpler way to handle those calculations? Say hello to Power BI's brand new Visual Calculations. Visual Calculations simplify writing DAX measures, enabling you to directly reference fields in your visuals. And that means less hassle and more time to focus on what really matters. Let me show you how you can use Visual Calculations to create powerful reports in no time. By the way, you can follow along with the example file from the link in the video description. Prior to Visual Calculations, we had to write running total measures using multiple DAX functions in what would be an overwhelming formula for a beginner. But now I can simply select the visual that I want to add the running total to. Then on the Home tab, we've got New Calculation. This opens the Visual Calculation pane below the visual. Clicking on FX here, there are a load of templates we can use to get started with Visual Calculations, including one for running sum. We can see it takes one argument, the field, and if we delete it, I now have a list of the fields in my visual that I can work with. There's only one value field, that is for sum of sales, and that's the one I want. So tab to insert it, and then press enter, and just like that, I've got a running total of sales by month in my visual. Notice in the build pane, we've got these eye icons beside each of the series. And if I only want to show the running sum, I can hide the sum of sales from my visual. Just note that you can't delete the sum of sales though, because this is being used by the visual calculation. And that's why we now have the ability to hide and unhide items in our visuals. I'm going to leave them both visible, and I'll click back to report. And just like regular measures, the visual calculations also respond to the drill up and drill down functionality. Plus, we can use slices and filter our data. Let's look at another example. Another common calculation that's notoriously complicated is a moving average. You can see a typical moving average formula here. It's not for the faint-hearted, but it's super easy with a visual calculation. Let's take a look. We'll go into New Calculation, and then clicking on the function drop-down, we can choose the moving average template. You can see it's got two arguments, the field. Well, the field's going to be my sum of sales. And then the window size is the number of periods I want to average. I'm going to average 3. And let's replace the name here with 3-month moving average. And press enter. And now I have the moving average in my visual. Let's go back to the report. Now, if you ever need to edit one of these visual calculations, you can click on it and edit calculation. It takes you back to the visual calc pane. You can make your changes and then go back to the report when you're done. Now, there are a few limitations which I'll cover in a moment, but first, as you can see, working with DAX formulas in Power BI can be daunting. If you're finding yourself needing a deeper understanding or simply want to master Power BI, I highly recommend checking out my Power BI, Power Pivot and DAX course bundle. It's designed to get you up and running with Power BI fast. The course builds your skills step by step with practical examples and real-world projects, and includes support from me personally. By the end of the course, you'll have the confidence to tackle any Power BI challenge. So if you're serious about mastering Power BI and you want to take your data analysis to the next level, be sure to check out the link in the description and pinned comment. So far, we've used these pre-built templates to add visual calculations. And these templates use a series of new functions that have been built to support visual calculations. You can see a list of them here. When you add a visual calculation to your model, it's not added to the field list like a regular measure, which is why you don't see it in the list here. And this also means you can't apply number formatting as you normally would. However, I'll show you a workaround. Here I have a matrix table with sales by manager and segment, and I'd like to see sales as a percentage of the grand total. So I'm going to add a new calculation. Now, you're not limited to the templates available here. You can use regular DAX functions. Let's give this measure a name. We'll call it % of grand total. And it's going to divide the sum of sales. And the denominator, I'll use one of the new visual calculation functions for collapse all. What am I collapsing? Well, my sum of sales. And then this function wants to know how the calculation should traverse the matrix. I want to calculate horizontally across the columns from left to right. continuing row by row from top to bottom. So I want columns, rows, close parentheses, unclaps all, close divide, press enter, and now I have the percentage each value is of the grand total. But notice it doesn't have the percentage symbol, and remember, because these measures aren't in my list of fields, I can't format them. Instead, I can edit the calculation. So let's go and do that. Edit calculation. And here I'm going to wrap it in the format function, and then the format goes in double quotes, 0.00, I'll have 2 decimal places and the percentage sign. And you write these formulas much like you'd write an Excel custom number format. So I'm going to close parentheses on format, press enter, and now we have the formatting. Let's hide the sum of sales, and now I just have the percentages in my table. Let's go back to the report, and there it is, job done. However, another limitation of the visual calculations is you currently can't apply conditional formatting to them. If I right click on it, you can see the options are quite limited. If you want to show values as a percentage of the total, let me just unhide this matrix table. A better option currently is to use show values as. So right click on the values field, show values as, percent of grand total. Now I have the same percentages, and if I right click here, you can see I also have conditional formatting. For example, we could give them a background color. We'll use a gradient scale, and I'll click OK. And now I have some conditional formatting, which I can't currently apply to my visual calcs. Visual calculations are currently a preview feature, so I'm sure with time these limitations will be resolved and more functions will be available. To try out the visual calculations, make sure you're running the latest version of Power BI Desktop. Go to the File tab, down at the bottom, Options and Settings, and then Options, and then under Preview Features, at the bottom you want to make sure Visual Calculations is enabled, and then click OK, and then you'll need to restart Power BI for them to be available. As Microsoft continue to improve visual calculations, data analysis becomes more accessible and powerful for everyone. If you're an Excel user and you're eager to elevate your analysis skills, get up and running with Power BI with my next video, where I guide you through step by step. I'll see you there.